Welcome, welcome, welcome once again to another edition of Maximum Life with yours truly, Michael Norman. It is a joy and a pleasure to always bring these videos to you. Before we get started, let me just ask you to help me to expand this reach of this particular video and channel on YouTube by subscribing, clicking the like button, and of course, clicking the notification so you will know every time we upload a new video. And particularly today, because every time I get ready to start my video, the landscape company next door, they come in and they start blowing their leaf blowers and running the mower and the noise. Hopefully you're not hearing that, but it is a bit distracting for me. But as it stands right now, I need you to, of course, subscribe, click the like button, and of course the notification button. And if you really want to get on my good side, my graces, share the channel, okay? Do that for me. Okay, so now the question becomes, have you ever had an issue where you feel like, why is it that I do the same thing that everyone else is doing, but I'm not getting the same results? It seems as though, they're prospering, they're growing, they're expanding their business, their ministry is enlarging. Everything they touch seems to prosper, and I'm doing the very same things that they're doing, and yet I'm not getting the same results. Well, let me just share with you today on today's video how that perhaps one of the reasons you're not seeing this sort of results they're having in your own life, in your own ministry, whatever you're involved, your business, is probably because of your pain tolerance. Yes, it is directly linked to your pain tolerance. And let me tell you something, for those of you who don't know, entrepreneurialism is not for the faint of heart. It is not for the weak. It's not for those who love everything to be handed to them on a silver platter. To be entrepreneurial means that you're willing to put in the work. You're willing to do the labor-intensive work, particularly on the front end, in order to get your dream, your vision off the ground. It is always labor-intensive at the front end. And before it'll work for you, it's going to work on you. What is it going to work on you about? It's going to work on your patience. It's going to work on your resilience. It's going to work on your tenacity. How committed are you to seeing your vision through? And so the reason I've titled this video, Pain is Your Power, is that oftentimes I don't think we really celebrate the idea that there is power in pain. No one likes to be uncomfortable. I understand that. So indulge me on this. But the reality is nothing of value, of worth has ever come to us except that we have endured some level of discomfort, some level of pain. And I'm not talking about just physical pain. I'm talking about emotional. I'm talking about spiritual. I'm talking about anything that is going to grow and expand and become greater than it is currently. You're going to have to deal with some discomfort. And the beauty of it is that the more you understand that discomfort is as much a part of the journey or the process as the destination, the more you'll be able to endure the process. I talked about in a previous video how that everything in the earth is subject to three elements: seed, time, and harvest. There's going to be a seed. Nothing exists without first being a seed form. And I'm not just talking in an agricultural terminology. I'm not talking about corn seeds or wheat seeds, things of that nature. Or apple seeds or orange seeds. I'm talking about the beginnings, the genesis, the seedlings of your desires, the things you really want to accomplish in life. Everything starts at its beginning and at its core. And at the core is that seed. And every seed, according to God's divine order, every seed will produce after its own kind. You can't plant apple seeds and expect orange trees, and vice versa. You can't plant orange seed and expect apple trees. Every seed will produce after its own kind. But however, every seed is subject to seeding, timing, and obviously the harvest. Here's where most people lose the fight. They lose the race because they understand how to seed, how to start something, but very few people know how to finish. Some of us are great starters. We have, if you're like me, I'm a musician, a producer. I've got some unsung and some unfinished symphonies I mean, a lot of them. I'm a great starter in many cases, and particularly in my music production, because oftentimes I want to be led by inspiration. I want to have an idea, but I want to be inspired to accomplish or to flesh out that idea, not to just do it from a mechanical standpoint. And as such, when I don't have any more inspiration, that's when I tend to pull up, I tend to stop and wait until I get inspired again. Well, uh, the consequence of that is I've got a plethora of unfinished symphonies. And so where it comes to life, we have to understand that, again, there's seed, time, and harvest. Time is where oftentimes we fall off. Because again, as I said before it will work for you, it will work on you. It will work on your patience. I'm telling you, it's going to work on your endurance. Because it's not a question of whether or not God wants you to have it. The question is, how badly do you want it? And I heard Eric Thomas say, he's a great motivational speaker. He says, until you want it as bad as your next breath. Until you want it as though someone, he talks about how his mentor told him a story of how a mentor took his mentee out into the ocean. And once they got waist deep, the mentor was teaching him how to become successful by taking him to the middle of the ocean and then proceeded to dunk his head underwater. And after a period of time, the mentee is struggling to get up, and the mentee or the mentor is holding the mentee's head underwater, and he's struggling, he's wrestling, and he's flailing and flailing, trying to get up from under his mentor's hand until his mentor finally lets him up. And he says, why did you do that? Why did you almost drowned me? What does this have to do with becoming successful in life and in business? He says, until your desire to succeed equals and matches the desire you had to be released from underwater, until your hunger matches that desire, then you're not ready for success, because it'll be just an experiment rather than a pursuit. So oftentimes we don't have the drive, we don't have the tenacity, we don't have the innate desire. I mean, like that inner burning fire that drives us on through the hard times. Let me remind you of an old time Bible story about Moses, how he comes to Pharaoh in Egypt and says, God says, let his people go. So ultimately, Pharaoh says, okay, I'll let them go. But what happens is that Pharaoh lets his people go, but they have to go through the wilderness. And the moment they start going through the wilderness, they're subject to the sun rays, to the heat from the day, from the long journey, and all of this sort of thing. It gets a bit uncomfortable for them. And as a result, they start to want to go back. They want to go back to Egypt, to the very place of enslavement, the very place where they were marginalized and brutalized in many cases. And as such, they ultimately want to go back to the very place of suffering. So it's never going to be a question of whether or not God wants you to have it. The question becomes, how badly do you want it? Do you want it bad enough to endure pain? The pain that comes with striving forward, trying to reach that destiny, trying to lay a hold of that dream that just seems to be just outside of your reach. But there's an inner burning fire in you that says, I can't give up. I won't give up. I cannot stop. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the ingredient that leads to prosperity and growth. Because while it is painful, no one wants to feel discouraged. No one wants to feel like, what's it all about? Nothing's working. No one wants to feel despondent about anything. But if you endure through those painful processes, There's something you're going to gain that you otherwise would not get if you just simply live a life full of ease, full of pleasure, full of comfort. There's something to be said about suffering because suffering develops something in us. You are all literally sleeping giants. And all it takes to stir that giant up in you is some hard time, some pain, some suffering. And I know this doesn't sound very motivating, but I promise you this is what separates the winners from the losers. This is what separates success from failure, because you have to temper yourself and discipline yourself to do everything it takes for as long as it takes. You know, some people are saying, well, I want to start my business and I'll start, writing books or cooking meals or doing some sort of service. I'll do it until it starts getting uncomfortable. And that's why in many cases, most businesses fail within the first 5 years, because they've got just enough drive and just enough incentive for 4 to maybe 5 years. But after that, that drive begins to wane. It starts to dissipate. And that excitement and that thrill that you had at the beginning is completely vanished. It's like, I don't have any drive. I've heard no enough times. I've heard not today enough times. I'm just completely wearied with trying. And as a result, you give up. That's the kind of pain I'm talking about. That's the kind of pain. If you endure that sort of pain, it's going to produce something in you that you have yet to this point been able to realize. And it's in you. It's not foreign to you, but it is the pain, the sufferings that you endure that creates an inner fortitude, an inner tenacity that will not allow you to fail. And I promise you, if you'll endure that time of suffering, that time of discomfort, that time of pain, success is guaranteed, in the sense that you will reach your destiny. Now, I'm not talking about what level of success. I'm simply saying you'll become successful because you're willing, you're willing to do what others are not willing to do. This is what really at the very basic genesis of a thing, right at the DNA level, the thing that separates winners from losers is that winners are willing to do what losers are not willing to do. So you can never really criticize someone who's successful, rich, wealthy, and that sort of thing, because you never know what they had to endure in order to achieve the level of wealth and notoriety that they're currently enjoying. You think that they're overnight success, but in fact, while you were probably sleeping, they were grinding. While others were going to the movies and hanging out with their friends, they were sitting home studying and grinding and developing their skill sets and their self-worth, to the point that now they've got certain skill sets that are high value, to the extent that people will pay them for those skill sets. Yeah. Because now it's kind of like Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. It is said that while, on the heels of winning the NBA championship, literally just after winning the trophy for the NBA championship, Michael Jordan was said to, while everybody else was going to the clubs, going to parties, going to hang out, nothing wrong with that. Nothing's wrong with that. I'm not indicting them. I'm just showing you what it takes to be great, okay? What it takes to separate you from the crowd. And while they were going to parties and they were going to strip clubs and all this sort of thing and hanging out and doing whatever they do, Michael Jordan, after receiving the MVP for the tournament, turns around at the end of the day, while everybody's going out, he goes back to the gym and he starts working on his craft. You would think, Michael Jordan, you just won the NBA championship. Go out and have a blast, celebrate, go out with everybody, have a good time. But if he had done those things, we wouldn't be talking about him right now. We wouldn't be celebrating him for the great man or basketball player that he was or that he had been. We wouldn't be talking about a Kobe Bryant because Kobe recognized that I'm going to have to sacrifice some things. It's going to hurt me. I've had to miss some recitals. I've had to miss some games for my children. I've had to miss some date nights because I'm busy working on my skill set so that now when I show up on the court, I excel. And that's what happened. But most people are not willing to pay that price because it's just too uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. And as such, one of the things we have to recognize, and I'm literally coming into greater awareness of the fact that, yes, now it makes sense. Now it makes sense why I wasn't as successful as I should have been early on in life. And here's why. It is because our brains are wired for ease. Our brains are wired for pleasure. Our brains will devise methods and reasons and excuses to prevent us from experiencing something that's unpleasurable. Yeah, and that's really the truth of the matter is. It's not, how some will say, it's not your fault. It's not really your fault. It's that your mind is designed for comfort, for ease, for things that are easy. And so when it becomes more difficult, that's when your brain just checks out and says, not for me. I don't want to do it. But when you recognize that our brains are wired for success, then it is now you understand why when it's time for you to go out and maybe start jogging, your mind will say, oh no, this couch is plenty enough jogging for me. It's comfortable. I love it here. Don't go outside and get all sweaty and tired. Why get tired when you can enjoy the comfort of this couch or the comfort of this bed? Why not just, hey, don't mess up a good thing we got going here. Well, that might be true, but you can't go from good to great until you submit yourself to some time of discomfort. And I've noticed something, and I did a little bit of a study here. And in my studies, I discovered that the brain actually has no allegiance. I'm going to use my readers here. So the brain has no real allegiance because the brain really operates off of endorphins. For whatever feels good, that's what the body will generally want to do. If it feels good, do it. Y'all remember that, right? But again, that's because it releases a chemical in the brain called endorphins, dopamine, serotonin. These are the things that your own brain creates as a point of pleasure. When you're doing the thing that is pleasurable, you get these dopamines. So serotonin and all of this starts to release into your mind and into your body. And you can literally, scientists will tell you, you can literally get high off of your own dopamine. And some people are addicted to the dopamine to the extent that they only want to do those things that makes them feel good, that releases those dopamines, the serotonins and the dopamine and the all of the chemicals that make you feel good. So because here's what I wrote. Because endorphin creates pleasure and comfort, your brain remembers those experiences and starts craving them again. Because the brain, the endorphins create a pleasure and dopamines and serotonins because they create pleasure and comfort. Your brain remembers those experiences and starts to crave them again. So this is part of your reward system, which also involves dopamine, serotonin, which deals with satisfaction. So your brain remembers what felt good. It remembers it to the extent that it wants to feel it again. Your brain literally becomes your own saboteur. Your brain, not my brain, but your brain. And your brain does not hold any allegiance to anyone. It's immaterial. It's impersonal. It has no allegiance to anyone. Even though it's housed in your own body, your brain is not committed to you. Okay, so when you understand this, then now you understand why it's so important to begin to take control over your mind and not allow your mind to just run wild and do only those things that you're stimulated to do. Because there's some things your mind and your brain will stimulate you to do that your conscience says, no, that won't be good for you. Such as only eating, sugary foods, cakes, honey buns, donuts, and things of that nature, and you just eat those all of the time. While they feel good, and your brain will keep saying, come on, give me some more of that donut. Get me some of those chocolate-covered donuts next time, and you keep feeding your body what your brain and your serotonins, your dopamines, that's what they're saying. We love this stuff. I'm going somewhere with this, so stay with me. So your brain is simply saying, keep it coming. Just keep it coming. Keep it coming. And as such, if you're not careful, you look back a few months later and here, wait a minute, where did this extra 5 pounds come from? Wait a minute, I'm turning into an archbishop when my belly enters the room before my body does. So again, it's only because your brain remembers how wonderful it felt last time you ate 12 donuts and glazed donuts or cake and ice cream and all of that stuff. While it does taste good and releases those endorphins and serotonin, but again, you have to realize your brain is betraying you because your brain is not designed, it's not loyal, it's impersonal. It doesn't care. It doesn't care anything about what you desire. All it wants is what makes it feel good or that causes it to release those endorphins. So, yeah, that feels good. Yeah. Pass me another donut, would you? And next thing you know, you're 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds over what you used to be because you only give in to what feels good. You only do what feels good. You stray away from the things that is good for you because it doesn't feel good initially. But here's the good news. By that same study, we've discovered that the brain, while it's immaterial or impersonal, while it is impersonal, the good news is that you can train your brain to enjoy walks, jogging, exercising, weightlifting, reading books, taking trips, seeing the world. You literally can train your brain to begin to like that sort of thing. And those same endorphins, those same serotonins and dopamine that used to be released when you ate donuts, cakes, cookies, and that sort of thing, now, as you train your brain, it starts to release those same endorphins, those same serotonins. This is why that it starts to release those same things now because you've trained your brain to enjoy taking walks. You've trained your brain to enjoy reading books. You've enjoyed training your brain to enjoy training, running, taking hikes, and enjoying things that actually will do you good. Because your brain, I'm telling you right now, is impersonal. While it's in your body, it is not committed to you. This is why it's so difficult for those who are addicted to drugs to break that addiction, because their brain has literally turned against them. And it will drive them to do all manner of things to get more crack cocaine, get more cocaine, get more this or LSD or fentanyl or whatever it is, whatever the drugs of choice. It's to satisfy the chemicals, that are already in your brain. So this is why it's so powerful, and that's why your pain becomes your power. Because if you can endure the pain of turning away from the things that are not good for you and start to train towards those things that are good for you, those same dopamines, those same endorphins, those same serotonins will begin to release because you enjoy the things that are good for your body. Now, of course, again, the painful part is turning away from cake, ice cream, cookies, and that sort of thing to vegetables, to nuts and fruits and things of that nature. You know, that's the hard part. But if you can endure that pain, it'll become your power, because that pain will give you the discipline. This is again what separates winners from losers, because winners knows how to discipline themselves, while the losers only do the things that are pleasurable. And in truth, they're not doing the things that are pleasurable. They're doing the things that their serotonins and their dopamines are telling them to do. We're all subject to it, present company included. But you have to make the distinction that the dopamines that I get from working out is better than the dopamine that I get from sitting down, doing nothing, and just watching TV. You know, loving hip hop and all these reality shows. They're not going to do you any good. None of those people on those shows are going to pay your bills. None of those people are going to give you an endowment. Okay? So when you realize that, you got to get up and start making moves that adds to your bottom line. I'm going to close with this. Okay, so when it comes to starting your own business, you know, we are living in a very, very, we're living in a very strange time right now in America. It's unlike any other time we've ever experienced. And I've been here 61 years. I've never seen any time period. I wasn't a big fan of Reagan, wasn't a big fan of Bush, wasn't really a big fan of what's this, Williams. I can't even think of his name. But anyway, the point being is we've never seen times like we're living now, where millions of people lost their job, lost their income. And there's never been a time like right now to start considering how to start your own business. And that's what I do with thousands of people around the world. I help people establish, and the quickest way to start your own business is to go digital. Not to go out and try to build brick and mortar. Nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. But understand, you're going to need the startup capital. You're going to need the real estate. You're going to need permissions and permits and things of that nature. All the thousands of dollars that are necessary before you even start and open the business. Whereas you can literally start your digital business today. You can literally start making money today. This is what I do with our Digital CEO program. And for more information, you can look in the description and go to michaelnorman.net, and where I'm going to show you how to start your six-figure business and automate it to the extent that now you can take vacations when you want to take them, to where you want to take them, and you don't have to worry about checking in to make sure business is still going, because once you automate, it will work while you are away. It will work while you are asleep. And so for more information, it's in the description. You can go and click on michaelnorman.net. I'm going to show you exactly how you can stop trading your time for money and learn how to become the master of your own financial future through your own online digital business. So make sure you contact me for more. I'm helping people all around the world. I can absolutely help you as well. All right. So again, your pain is your power has been the theme of this particular video, and I trust that you've heard something that has at least turned on the light for you to recognize that, yes, now I understand why discipline is so necessary. Because if without discipline, I don't have anything to counteract the force of serotonin, dopamine, and endorphins that are trying to bring me under captivity of the things that are not necessarily good for me. So you start to train your brain, and you train your brain by basically science have already, this neuroscience have shown us and has promoted the idea that the more you speak, the more you program your mind. The more you speak, the more you're programming your mind. So you've got to speak well, because even the Bible says, Jesus told his disciples, it's not what goes in your mouth that defiles you, it's what comes out of your mouth. Why? Because what comes out of your mouth goes into your ears, which goes into your mind, which establishes a mindset. And your mindset always affects your assets. Every time, all day, twice on Sundays. Okay? So your mentality will determine your reality. So today, I want your call to action is to begin to talk right, to begin to speak those things that you desire, not so that you can make it happen out here, but so that you can make it happen in here. Because as a man thinketh in his mind, so is he. You will become the things, the thoughts that you think, and the words that you speak. All right? Well, I trust something has been spoken that has inspired you again, that will spur you on to continue to reach for higher heights and deeper depths. And remember, again, if you're an entrepreneur, or you want to become an entrepreneur, and you're tired of spending money after money, trying to get your brick and mortar business working and operating, and it's just costing way too much money. Well, listen, the alternative is to go online. I mean, Walmart understood that. Target understood that. Even Sears, they're closing all of their brick and mortar. J.C. Penney's, that you can barely find one. Why? Because they're all going online. So why should you be behind the curve? Be in front of the curve and gain the profits and the benefits of being ahead of the curve. Get your digital business up and running. For more information, the information is in the description. Go to michaelnorman.net. We'll show you how you can start your own six-figure business. All right. Until next time, I'm trusting again to meet me again right here on Maximum Life with yours truly, Michael Norman. Would you do me a favor? Click the like button. Do me that solid before you leave. Okay. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share it. Click the notification button, and we'll see you next time right here on Maximum Life with yours truly, Michael Norman. We'll see you next time.